Okay. YouTube says we're live. So I guess we are. Let's do a little, I don't know, do we need to adjust this camera any? How about that? It's a little better. There we go. All right. Probably centered as good as I'm going to get. It's hard to get a good cheap camera. Hello, Neil. How you doing, buddy? Let a few more people get in. We still got a minute or two to go before the scheduled time. I can't blame them if they don't come in quick. Hell, who wants to listen to me ramble on? Hey, buddy, how you doing? I'm struggling. Struggling to remember your first name. I thought I had it memorized. I really did. Oh, Josh, that's it. You say it on all your videos, and I tried to commit it to memory, but when you get old, stuff just don't work too good. And there's Adrian. All right. Well, let's do a little bit of vape stuff for so we can kind of halfway act like we're vapors. No, I don't have the tripod. I never did buy that one. I don't remember why, but I never did. But I did have somebody from Brazil comment on one of my Squape Arise videos that they were having trouble with it leaking. I tried to get them to give me some more information. They hadn't responded yet. So I got curious and I drug one of mine down and played with it. And if maybe he'll watch this video, maybe it'll help him a little bit. But if you got juice pouring out of the airflow holes, pouring out. Now this one probably is going to seep just a little, but if it's pouring out, then you're either losing your vacuum on your juice or your wicking is too little wicking. That's about it. Now, if it's pouring out the very bottom crack down here, then your O-ring down there is bad. Now, what a lot of people didn't realize, and I didn't even realize it, I think, till I did the second video on the, because I bought two of the clones. This top cap here will come off. There is a round O-ring around the outside, and then there's two oval O-rings that help seal your juice holes. But it's very, very hard to get off. And I can easily see that O-ring up there getting damaged, which would let you lose your vacuum. And that very well could be your problem, or either your O-rings on your tanks. But if they're leaking, surely the juice would leak out. But there is a possibility that you could lose vacuum before the juice would leak out. But those are my only two recommendations. But anyhow, I did drag it out, and I thought since I had it out, I would play with it a minute. And what I did was I took the little airflow insert totally out, put a 3mm Clapton coil in it, and just went for it. But now, because I wanted a little air restriction, I left the little restrictor tube in the chimney, because to me, that helps concentrate the flavor. Just my opinion. Have no scientific facts to back that up. But anyhow, and it's doing pretty good that way. I never really did find anything spectacular about it trying to do a mouth to lung. It worked, but it wasn't spectacular. So it got put on the shelf. And also, one word of advice to anybody that's new out there that's watching. When you save the money on these clones, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to spend some time fixing the problems that the people didn't fix, because a lot of the clone makers, besides SXK, they're good, they're pretty good, but the rest of them, they don't check anything. They throw it together and they sell it, and they hope it works. But to give you a fair example, the O-ring that goes around the deck that seals the deck, okay, to get one to make it work properly, I had to go down 4 sizes in O-rings in my case. I had to go down 4 sizes before I got one that made the device work properly. I mean, it's sealed from day one, but it was very, very hard to turn. So, like I say, I went down 4 sizes to ever get one that made it work properly. So just expect that, but it's just part of the deal when you save money. And there's Mr. Intense. He come back. How about it? Hey, buddy. What else we got here? I'm behind on the chat because I went to rambling. Yeah, see, now I think wasn't that tripod developed by that fella over in the UK that has the vape channel, Nature Vapes, I think it was. They're really hogtied, is what we call it in this country, on their juice capacity. So, he could have came up with a different tank to sell in the US, I guess, but that's probably runs into a lot of problems. Plus, from what I understand, the bigger the tank, the more likelihood you have of the flooding. That is my understanding in the deal. Now, Mr. Intense, I'll call you by your first name if you put it out there. And you can also put out your whatever country you're in if you'd like. If you don't, it's fine. It's cool. Oh, no. What else did I get? I'm still waiting. God knows how big the box will be. It's on the slow boat from China. So we're still waiting on that. But in the meantime, I did finally, you know what a tight bastard I am, I did finally buy some 21700 batteries. Finally. Yeah, I'm only, 5 years behind. But anyhow, and when I did, I drug out my Vandy Vape Pulse thing, billet box lookalike thing, because I had been using, and I put the door on backwards. There we go. Supposed to go to the bottom. I had been using the little tank that came with it in my billet box because it'll hold up to my red hots, and I actually like the one of the coils they make for this. This is the one that takes the the pre-made coils, not the one that fell apart in your hand and leaked all over God and creation. But anyhow, I really like one of those for my red hots flavoring, so I had been using it that way. So when I finally broke down and bought some 21700s, and I'm really liking them because this one's been in there for I think 4 days now, and it's about time to change it. But I was going through 118,650 every day in it, so really happy with that. Should have done it before, but I'm just tight. What else we got? Of course, they supposedly fixed that. Of course, all the fanboys said there wasn't no problem, but they did come out with a revised edition that had a proper gasket on it. I still don't know how good the flavor is on it, but because I mean, I never was that impressed with the flavor myself. But I didn't throw no hellacious coal in it. I was just playing with it, and it just got to be such of a pain. Now, of course, I still got the original deal because they wouldn't honor my warranty, and but by using just the pre-made coil tank, you never have to crank down on the nut tight enough to crack it or nothing. Plus, I got the solid black one. It's a little better plastic than that clear plastic. So I hadn't had no problems with cracking, and it works just fine. I mean, works just fine for that. All right. Daytime Frank, hey, you're new. Hey, welcome. Join in. Have fun. All right. Now, for some people in the US, that's about all the vaping stuff I got until my my shipping container comes in from China. That's about, I'm still waiting. um, yeah, Neil, I'd heard of people that got some new O-rings and whatnot. I finally found an O-ring on mine that made it quit leaking, but at that point I was kind of disgusted with it. But and God knows the amount of hell I caught for putting out that video, because the fanboys just swamped me because I said something that Tony B done wasn't worth a shit. How about that? Frank is one of the good ones. All right, Daytime Frank. Well, now some of y'all that ain't in the U.S. won't quite understand this, but and some of you may not agree with me, but some of us in the U.S., me included, are celebrating today because Herr Fauci has decided to quit government service. Of course, come December, we still got to, put up with him till then. But come December, supposedly he's going to quit government service. Well, it wasn't Tony. It was his fanboys that jumped me. It was. It's like if you've never experienced this, go to one of Rip Chipper's comments that YouTube videos, doesn't matter which one. He never reads the damn comments. I don't care what he says. And say something bad about, or just call him out with logic. He's a hypocrite or whatever, and his fanboys will jump on you like a pack of wild dogs, buddy. So that was what was happening to me. Tony B never said anything to me or even commented. It was his fanboys that jumped on me, And the bad part was, you got it on video. It's kind of like here recently, you got it on video. Here it is. There's no doubt. There can be no doubt cast because it's right here on video. It's plain as day. It's in your face. And they still denied it. At that point, you just got to, the people at the casino, I don't know how many of y'all ever go to the casino a lot, but the people at the casino have a neat thing they do. And I have adapted it to certain situations. And it's like this, okay? If it's the dealers do it. They go like this. They go and step away from the table, okay? And it's to show they've not got no chips hidden, okay, or anything hidden in their hands or palming anything. But it signifies that they're out, So, yeah, it's like, I'm out, okay. Yeah, they really needed to fix it properly. All they needed to do, they needed to have done it to start with. And why they did, I don't know. They just, if you noticed around the very bottom, there was just on the original one, there was a little groove, and just an O-ring. The top piece had a big, nice channel cut out on it, and that big, nice, like tri gasket O-ring thing was square to begin with, had like three lips on it. They put it on the top. Why didn't they put it on the bottom? That would have totally cured any problem that arose. I mean, that was the real cure, and I think that's what they've done to the new one, because I thought it ain't just a different O-ring. I think they actually put a 2 or 3 lip gasket on the bottom of it, and that's what they should have done to begin with. They had it on the top. Why didn't they put it on the bottom? Save money? Save what? A penny? Come on, come on, come on, China. But anyhow, back to Herr Fauci. That was the only thing, and I'm a Trumper. I'll admit it straight up. But that was the only thing that I didn't understand about Trump was why did he ever listen to Fauci? And I understand, you supposedly surround yourself with the experts in the field and you take their advice. But at some point in time, your spidey sense has to kick in and you say, hey, this just don't smell quite right. I think we're going down the wrong road. So anyhow, that was part I never understood about Trump. That was his only failing, in my opinion, was he listened to Fauci. And but anyhow, I didn't understand it. But here just recently, something in real life kind of helped me understand. And that is, some of you might know, since I'm retired, I make little wood stuff out in my garage, wood art, basically. I also make rings, coin rings, and inlay rings, and I make customized pens. And I used to make pencils, but got out of that, just make pens now. And I sell them at an open air market in town on Saturdays. Just what I do. It pays the light bill, so I don't have to worry about that. But anyhow, recently it has went through several managers, and this last manager got us in a meeting the other day, most of the vendors, and asked if we had any ideas how we could improve the market. Well, my stall or my booth is right next to one of the gates. There's 3 gates. My stall is right next to one. So a lot of people talk to me and they don't talk to none of the other vendors. They talk to me just because I'm right there by the gate for some reason. And also overhear what they're saying as they walk out or walk in, either way, but mostly walk out. So recently, or this year rather, they've always advertised it as a farmer's market. Okay. Now, over here, when most people hear farmer's market, they envision produce. Well, hey, look, we're in the middle of the desert. Okay. You're not going to get much produce. You're just not. And they won't let them import it from California. It has to be grown locally. Well, there's not that many people that do that out here because it's just the water alone makes it almost prohibitive, unless you're just really, really into the organic, you want to grow your own stuff. Just the water cost alone, it's cheaper to go to Walmart and get your produce. But anyhow, so we have almost no produce vendors. We've got one, and she does mostly stuff that comes off her trees on her property. So it's not like, she has a few little vegetables every now and then, and the season out here is really short because it gets too hot to grow anything outside, just out in your backyard. Yeah, that ain't happening. But anyhow, I had overheard, and people have come and talked to me, customers have come and talked to me, and I've overheard people say that they were very disappointed because it was not what they envisioned as a farmer's market. It was their first time there. They had looked it up on the internet and came down just to see, and they were very disappointed that it wasn't what they envisioned as a farmer's market, and they weren't coming back. Okay. Well, I mean, I've heard this from at least a dozen people, and we've got 3 gates. So logic says, hey, there's got to be some people thinking the same way going out the other gate. And so let's just double it. So that's 24 people in a short amount of time that have said this. Okay. Well, I brought it up. I said, hey, we really need to change the name of the farmer's market to just the market. Of course, there's some extra stuff on the end, but since I don't want to get in a copyright problem, I'm not going to say all that. But anyhow, just change the part from the farmer's market to the market at. Okay, it was the farmer's market at. Let's change it to the market at. That way, we're not locked in to these people expecting tons and tons of produce. Everybody thought that was good. Everybody thought it was good. Most people did. I shouldn't say everybody. I say everybody too quick. 90% of people, it's great. So we go talk to the owner that owns the property because he's the head dog. He's in charge. He thinks it's great. He immediately whoops out his laptop and registers the domain name. I thought it was a done deal. Okay, sounds good. Okay, that problem out of the way. Shouldn't have that problem anymore because, shouldn't piss people off anymore because of that. So anyhow, roll along directly. And I volunteered to do some videos for them and make them a YouTube channel and just as a holding place for the videos so they could link to them in their various other social media stuff. The people that do that, I didn't want to get into that. So anyhow, I made them some videos, put it up, Well, they contacted me the other day. They said, oh, the owner decided not to change the name after he talked to his marketing specialist. I said, really? So they let me see the email. The marketing specialist said that we shouldn't do that because we were getting all these hits and customers from having it say farmers because that was what the people that were new to the town, they were going to go to like Google or Facebook and type in farmers market, and so it would bring us up. Yeah, that's what was happening. And they were coming down there and they were, because of your marketing, and they were getting pissed off and they were leaving and they were never coming back. So but he takes the word of this marketing expert, which is sitting behind a desk, does not come down, does not listen to the people, does not talk to the people, over people that actually do, that are based in reality. Same thing happened to Trump. He listened to Fauci. Fauci had his own agenda, didn't really care about reality, and there we went. So, my old adage is if somebody is absolutely determined to shoot themselves in the foot, just back up. Just back up so you don't get the blood splatter on you. Okay. And as you're backing up, there you go. What can I say? When they're hell bent for leather to shoot themselves in the foot, then just back up so you don't get the blood on you. So anyhow, we are celebrating. I am celebrating, and a lot of us over here, the departure of Herr Fauci. But now I understand, a little more because I've seen it in real life. Somebody take that the word over a supposedly expert over the word of somebody that actually has got their, the boots on the ground and actually talking to the real people. Yeah, Adrian, I have encountered that in my uh, previous life, you might say, with just my friends, and it amazed me, and I didn't really relate it to this because uh, I don't know why, but it's kind of relatable because in my previous life I was an auto technician, master level. I don't know what they call that in the UK, but it was basically as high as you could get, and I'd been doing it for 20 something years. I was very, very good at it. And when I would gather with my friends, my close friends, and we'd be all sitting around the table playing, drinking beer, playing cards, whatever we was doing. One of them would ask me, said, "Hey, Bill, my truck's doing so and so and so and so." And it would be something that was just completely obvious to me because I had seen it so many times in the past and something, I'd say, "Well, you need to replace this, and that." Okay. Now, here's what we always blow my mind, which relates to the Fauci deal. Another friend over here whose job for the last 5 years was riding on the back of the garbage truck emptying the garbage cans, which I'm not demeaning his job, but it's not fixing cars. He would chime in with his opinion. And I've actually had my other friend take his opinion over mine, and I'm going like, okay, waste your money. I could care less. I tried. Yeah, but this guy, and I don't even know. Maybe it's just, I hope, pray to God, he's not paying this marketing person. I hope it's just an acquaintance or a friend that does marketing. But because I understand their thinking, and their thinking is sound because they have got the domain name, and they've got the Facebook name that they wanted, because there's other markets in town that would love to have that name, the farmers market, ads, da da da. But and I understand that that's going to bring, you're going to pop up on a search engine and all that. And I understand all that. Yeah. And that is all true. And it's real. But when everybody that attracts gets pissed off at you, says they're not coming back, and then they go tell 5 people, and then people go tell 5 people, you've defeated the purpose of your deal. So that's the reality of the deal. That's what's actually happening. But the science, I guess you call it science, call it marketing research. I mean, that's a sound theory and all, and I understand it completely and agree with it. But when it's causing the opposite effect, then you should change roads. And hey, this road ain't no good. Let's go down this other road. I mean, that's all I was saying. Well, it was the, I don't know, the thing. I mean, they say that they put our name on it, the Kingman's Farmers Market deal, and then there's a little bit extra, but so it differentiates between, and it's the deal on Facebook. Like if you get a Facebook page, type thing, they don't let 2 people have the same name and all this. But anyhow, I mean, I understand the marketing person, but they're just not, I'd rather listen to the actual people, Yeah, the group thing. Yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, Neil, me. Oh yeah, I love saying I told you so. So I put a lot of shit on video so I can come back to it and say, look, see, I said this 6 months ago. And I love pouring salt in the wound. I'm just that type of asshole. I mean, most of the time, anyhow. Yeah, if I take pity on some people, but yeah, most of the time I like pouring salt in the wound. You gotta be a real, real good friend. Otherwise, I'm gonna pour salt in that wound. What happened? Check atomizer. Yeah, now that was one thing I did see on this damn thing. This damn clone, the 510 pin needed to be longer. I had to unscrew it a little bit. It was adjustable, but it's just not. I need to switch it out with one that works right, or a little bit longer. Stuff something down in the hole or something. Oh, it ain't even gonna work anymore at all. Are you really? You're not, you piece of shit. Yeah, folks, this is part of the world of owning a clone. Which this brings me back to the old days. That's what happens when you leave when the 510 pin's a little loose and you take the tank off 2 or 3 times. Every time you do, you're basically screwing the pin in a little bit, and eventually it gets to where it don't connect. So you have to screw it back out. Remember the old days? Hell, we had to do that all the time in the old days. That was back before spring-loaded 510s. Well, we're getting on up there, boys. We got 7 people in here watching today. How about that? Well, we're getting there. Oh, getting a few people to watch. I don't know why y'all come watch me ramble on, but I'm glad you're here. Let's see, what else have I got? I got a bunch of stuff in my cart I ain't pulled the trigger on, but I'm gonna hold off on that for right now. Wait till this other stuff comes in and see. I don't even know why I keep ordering stuff. Get caught up, I guess. Yeah, I got one of those Skylines coming too. I also got one of those. What was it called? The one you recommended. I don't remember now the name of it. It takes the coils or coil or RBA section. Oh, that some people said wasn't no good, but I don't know. I watched the videos. I'm not too concerned. Oh, the Make Life Fallout, I think it was. What's it called? Yeah, Fallout. I got one of those coming. And also, I couldn't resist. It was just too cheap. I got one of those XX boxes, the 70 version coming. It was just too cheap. $26. I couldn't. I just had to have it. It was too cheap. That's part of my trouble. That cheap shit gets in my eye, and it just I have to get it. I have to order it. I wanted to pull the trigger on that K-Fun X clone, but I hadn't done it yet. Yeah, those hell, the coils I ordered what held up my order for God knows how long before they decided to go on and send the rest of it. And after I get a notice they've sent the rest of it without the coils, like the next day I get an email saying, "Oh, they got the coils and shipped them out." I swear to God, it kills me. All right, Josh, thanks for coming in, buddy. Well, there's somebody new, Lewis. How you doing, buddy? I got way behind on chat. I'm sorry, guys. Thanks for coming in, buddy. If you got in without me seeing you, don't think I'm ignoring you. I just missed you. Let me see. Neil. Yeah, Neil, you still here? How much is gas out your way, buddy? It's still $4 here. Yeah, I have to hold myself back every now and then because I get carried away. I catch that bright and shiny fever too. I really do. 350, 327. Damn. That's still high though, really, comparing you. It's just not as high as out here. Of course, if I drive 40 miles down the road, it's almost $6 to cross over into California. I don't like crossing that state line though. I try to avoid it with all my might. Yeah, that's per gallon. That's a U.S. Per U.S. gallon, Adrian. Hell, we'd all just die if we had to buy it by the liter. Although it might get some people's attention because the people over here in my town what I've noticed is they hadn't stopped going, burning the road, we call it, going places for, no reason, not even trying to consolidate stops or any of that stuff, and instead of like, you know what I'm saying, instead of like, going to town one day and going to 5 different places, no, we're going to go to town every day and go to one place and then go back home, But they hadn't done that, but it did cause them to cut back on their spending quite a bit. Yeah, they've had over in Europe and whatnot. The gas has been high over there for forever. As compared to us. God knows what it is now. It's got to be more. How much is it over there, Adrian? Just per liter? Because I think about 4 of them gets close to a gallon. if I remember right. Either 2 or 4, but I think it's 4 for some reason. For some reason, that's the number that comes to my mind. $1.87. Yeah, 3.8 liters to a gallon. So almost just basically times that by 4, which is that just makes it astronomical. I don't even know what the exchange rate is at the moment. Last time I bought something from over there, from the UK, it was years ago, and we were about even. You could almost just translate it over into US dollars at that time. Y'all have a lot of the normal little cars that run on diesel over there? Somewhere in my memory, I thought I remembered there being a lot more small cars that ran on diesel in the UK and Europe than we had over here. It was almost like a fad over here. This was many, many years ago. There was a few companies that tried to put little diesel engines in their cars, and it just didn't catch on. People didn't like it, didn't like dealing with it because back in them days, not every gas station had diesel, and it just never caught on. I had to work on the ones that came into our dealership, and one of the fellas told me, and it was like a mid-sized car over here, and he said he got 50 miles to the gallon. He was so tickled to death. It was amazing, but and then the trouble finding somebody that could work on them over here is just almost non-existent. Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to even find one. You might could get one from over here, as far as I know, you might could get one from like a Volkswagen dealership, but that'd be where I would look. But otherwise than that, I don't know that you could even buy one over here anymore. Yeah, there was some little cars in the old that got hellacious mileage, and some people bought them and they flat wore them to down to the bone because they got such good mileage. That was one of the reasons I'd always, during most of my life, I rode a motorcycle because it got such good mileage. And I had an old truck that I would use when it got just way too cold or if it was raining. Otherwise, a motorcycle was my main means of transportation. Yeah, I remember the ones I used to work on. They wasn't nothing wrong with them. They were good little. The little ones were good little cars and engines, that, and they lasted a long time for over here. And the way people abused them. But like I say, at the time uh, that I messed with them, I was the only person in town that could work on them. And I mean, I didn't know that much. I simply most of the time had to dig out the manual and you know uh, either read up on what I was fixing to do or look at it real closely and then do it. But nobody else even had the manuals, so most of them wouldn't even try. If it was past an oil change, you were just out of luck. No, Lewis, I finally sold my last street bike. My wife still has hers. She don't want to sell it, so. But I had a street bike that I'd had for I don't know how many years, and I'd gotten to the point I hadn't rode it in like 3 years, and somebody offered me as much money as I paid for it originally, so I just let them have it. I just didn't ride it anymore. Now, believe it or not, I don't know if you've seen my listen to any of my other stuff. I still own two drag bikes, and I don't race anymore. I drag raced motorcycles for like 10 years, and I haven't raced since I moved out here in the desert because I'd have to go all the way to Las Vegas. And I decided I had done it long enough, and at one point I was going to actually sell them. When I went out to the trailer, because they got their own trailer that's their home, is the race trailer. And I went out there to take pictures and post them to sell them. After that I couldn't do it. After looking at them again, I just nope, I ain't selling them. My wife can sell them after I die. They were just too sentimental for me to sell. But I still could. I mean, I could ride. I just hadn't rode in so long that it wasn't. Somebody else wanted it. Hell, there it is. Take it. Give me the money. If I decide I want to start riding again, I'll just go buy another one. In fact, I don't know if I've got one that's. Let me see if we can do this. I don't know if we can do this or not. Let's try it. I don't know how good this will work because I ain't figured out how to put a picture up like in the corner over here. I ain't figured out how to do that. I kind of looked this morning and I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to do it. So we're gonna hold this up to the camera. I'm gonna see how good this looks. Let's see if it's gonna work. It's gonna work at all? A little bit. There's one of my drag bikes, and that's me. And that is like 30 years ago. So that's what one of them looks like. And I've got an older model that's old school. It's what we call them over here, an old school drag bike. And so I get it to turn. Yeah, let's do it this way. There we go. Let me put this up here. See if we can get that to focus in. Come down a little bit. That's an old school drag bike. But I've also still got it. It turned out to be my spare bike because the races I did were series races, and you got points, and they added the points up at the end of the year. Come on, focus, focus, focus. Gotta love these cameras that don't focus worth a shit. Uh, yeah, you're absolutely right, Lewis. The launch of the bike when it took off, that was the uh, most stress that got put on your body. After that, you once you got tucked down, then you just held on. And the launch was we called it surviving the launch. If you survived the launch, you usually can make the pass. And by the end of the year, you would kind of get a little used to the adrenaline. But at the first of the year, the adrenaline rush was so bad when you passed the finish line, you turned off the track, you came back up the return road. There's a little building where you pick up your time slip. They would hand you your time slip. My hands would be shaking so much from the adrenaline rush that I could not read the time slip. I had no idea. I couldn't read it. I'd have to give it to my wife and ask her what it ran because my hands would be shaking too bad. Yes, if I could get this. Come on, follow me. Get this camera to refocus somehow. It's not wanting to do it. Got any better? Still look a little fuzzy. Oh well. Just had to deal with it. I blew the poor little camera's mind. You'd think I'm almost positive it's on autofocus, but it doesn't work worth a damn. Let's see if I can fix it somehow. Right quick. Back in the day, when I had my other software up and running, this over here. Let's see if we might get it to come around a little bit. Turn that off. See if that helped. Did that help? Nope. No, let's try this. There we go. Hey, all right. Let's just do that there. Now we're back in focus. I ain't gonna mess with it no more. But believe it or not, of course, you can't really see. I don't have any hair left, but what you can see is gray. Honest God's truth. I didn't have any gray hair until I started drag racing motorcycles. And it was like overnight, it instantly turned gray. And I blame it on the adrenaline rush, and it's pretty neat. Well, that's what I started off on, Neil, when I was a little kid, was a dirt bike, and just progressively moved up. But I mean, I started at 6 years old. So I just kind of progressively moved up the ladder, you might say. But even the drag racing, when you watch the guys do it on TV, it doesn't look, that hard, but it takes a toll on your body. It does. The launch is what gets you, because it gets your shoulders, it gets your hip, and it can get your back to a degree, and it does take a toll on you. There at the end on some of my last races I did, when I got home and got out of the truck was when I noticed it. I mean, I would be stoved up just like I had done manual labor all day, . Oh, well, I don't know about that, Lewis. I would say they would probably, uh, and you definitely, they're out there for a long time. So all we had to do was drink plenty of water because at that point, most of my races were in Texas and it was hot. You had to have a full leather suit on, and the first thing you did when you got back to the pit was you drank at least a pint of Gatorade, and just you had to just stay hydrated severely. Yeah, the launch it's nothing like it. There's no way I can explain it. The feeling. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I did, like I say, I did it 10 years, and it was a lot of fun. Won a lot of trophies, money, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun. And when I first moved out here, and this was something that also amazed me, and I never did understand why. But of course, I did all the maintenance on all my bikes, because once you learn the difference between a bike motor and a car motor, which I mean, it's similar, but there are some differences. I mean, of course I did all the maintenance on them. Every year you take the motor completely apart, and check everything and put it back together and hope it lasts the whole season and all that kind of stuff. Well, yeah. When I first moved out here, they have a test facility a little ways down the road, and at that time, I think Ford owned the whole facility. It's Arizona Proving Grounds, is what it's called. Well, Harley Davidson rented one of the big buildings there and was using it to research their stuff and test their stuff. Now they got these big test tracks and all kinds of stuff, to test vehicles out on. And they had a deal in the paper for a test rider. Okay, I'll go down there and showed them all my stuff, and whatnot. At that time, I even had an NHRA racing license, a license that you had to pass a test for. Plus, you have to get physicals every 2 years to keep this license. And they treated me like I was Joe Blow off the street. I said, okay, whatever. I don't know what y'all are looking for, but I kind of know how to ride, so I don't know. Oh, I don't know what a MOT is, Mr. Intense. Well, that was a nice bike, Adrian. I have rode some similar to that. The best or most powerful street bike I ever rode was a Hayabusa. One of the Hayabusas, that Suzuki Hayabusas, has got I think it's 1300 engine on it, and it was nice. I mean, I'd love to have one, but it had so much power that you really had to. As an annual road safety check. Do they check the bike or do they check your ability to ride the bike? But that Hayabusa had so much power that you had to really, really be careful with the throttle. If I'd have rode it long enough, I'm sure I'd have gotten used to it. But the few times I rode it, I had to just be extremely careful with the throttle. Otherwise, the ass end would come out from under you. It would just overpower the rear tire on the city street. I can course it. Well, now there's some states over here, not Arizona, not the one I live in, but there are some states that have a safety inspection. You have to get once a year. And some of them, and they vary from state to state. Some of them, they check everything, including how much smog you're putting out on the tailpipe. And then some of them just want to make sure you got brakes and lights and safety belts in a car, and the exhaust is halfway attached. So it varies greatly between state and state, between the states over here. Yeah, back in the 80s, they were all leakers. They were. I've worked on quite a few of them. I've never owned one, but I've rode a lot of them. But I I never owned one. They were always too expensive for me. People would say, "Well, why don't you have a Harley?" Well, the last street bike I had was a Suzuki Intruder, and it was twin engine, like Harley engine, similar to a Harley engine, and it was the cruiser style bike, kind of like Harleys. They'd always ask me, "Why don't you own a Harley?" And I said, "Well, let's see, can you count the bikes I own?" And they did. And I said, "Well, that's why." I said, "Because I can own all these bikes for the price I pay for one Harley." And that's why I never owned one. They were just too expensive for me. I, you know, and you definitely had to know how to work on them, especially the older ones. You had to. They break down all the time. They weren't that really good a design, and I know people may get pissed at me for saying that, but as far as the internal workings of the engine, uh, they weren't that good. For instance, if I was ever going to buy me and my wife decided we wanted to got a wild hair in our ass and we were going to go off tour the country on a motorcycle, I'd buy a Honda Goldwing. Yeah, and Ministry of Transport. All right. But yeah, they've got something over here similar to that, and like I say, it varies from state to state. Some states don't have it at all, and when you go to one that don't, because the one in Texas, uh, I was actually an inspector myself back at the dealership, and in at that time in Texas, it varied between counties whether you had to get the smog thing, or they had to stick a thing up a tailpipe and analyze your exhaust. We didn't in our area, but on the counties surrounding the big cities, they did there at one time, and I think they quit it because they figured out it wasn't feasible. But uh, it's sometimes at one point they did, but I never did. But anyhow, when I moved to Kentucky, to northern Kentucky from Texas, we just drove up there, or actually the company my wife worked for flew us up there so we could look at the plant in this small town that the plant was in, and just see if we wanted to do it, to go up there. And we're driving down this little 2-lane blacktop road. Okay, railroad tracks right beside it. Over the tracks comes this on a street. Over the tracks comes this car, and it's an old, like 70 models dinosaur car. The driver's door is missing. There is no door. Okay. Here it comes over the road tracks, turns and goes off down the road. And I looked at my wife and I said, "Well, they ain't got no inspection up here." Tell by looking at that. Yeah, I'm a fan of the BMW bikes. I think they are a very reliable bike. I've never had to work on one. I know they're kind of different, but I really like the way they're designed and all. I really do. Yeah, out here in Arizona, we have no inspection at all. They say they have one when you first come out here. And let's say you got like on my vehicles, they all had Kentucky titles. And when you go down to the DMV to get them changed over, they say, okay, well, we got to inspect them. Well, I thought that meant a normal inspection, a safety inspection, all that stuff. No, all you did was go around the back where the inspector guy was, and he made sure the VIN number on the title matched the VIN number on the vehicle. Done. That's it. Stamped it. Done. So that was all that entailed. So, yeah. And then after that, you just pay for your tags, and they're happy. Well, they can, Adrian, but they don't. I'll put it that way. Unless they're fishing. Now, if they're fishing, which means they're just looking for an excuse to stop you and see if you got any drugs or whatnot, something with a higher penalty. But if they're not fishing, most of the time they just let them go. And don't worry about them. So it all depends on where you are out here and whether or not the whatever department, sheriff's department or city police is patrolling, and how strict they are. It varies greatly in the states and between the states and from city to city, even as far as what you can get away with and what you can't. It's like up there in Kentucky, it was against the law to ride a ATV 4-wheeler out on the roads, but everybody did it, and the cops didn't care, so it wasn't no big deal. Now out here, that's show you the difference. Out here, if you want to ride your ATV on the road, then you go down and you get a little license plate for it. That's all you got to do. Just get a little license plate for it, stick it on there, and then you can ride it down the highway if you want to. So, but otherwise, if they see you riding without a plate, they'll pull you over. But, that's about it. And then you really even got to be on pavement at that. Unless, like I say, they're fishing, unless they're just needing to make a quota on tickets or something, or warnings or whatever they're looking at. So it varies differently. And I'll give you another example. If you go, the closest state to me is only like 30 miles. It's probably not even 30 miles. It's probably about, I don't know, 15 miles as the crow flies to Nevada. Okay. And there's the river, the Colorado River is the state line. Well, this side of the river, you can ride a motorcycle without a helmet, no problem. And it's legal. But if you drive across that bridge, you have to have a helmet in Nevada. So that gives you an example. And, and they will pull you over in a heartbeat over there if you don't have a helmet on. And that's the way it was in Texas, Josh, when I lived there, but this many years ago. You could ride in the ditch or ride alongside in the grass, but don't get on the pavement with your ATV. And if you was on a dirt road, they didn't care if he was on a dirt road, but just don't get on the pavement with it. And they usually were cool with that. I don't know if it was actually illegal or not to ride it on a dirt road, but as long as you was on a dirt road, they'd leave you alone. They just didn't want you on the pavement. Because there were times in Kentucky it would snow so much and ice over and whatnot that hell, the only way to get around was on an ATV. You know, there was even even the four-wheel drive trucks either had a hard time or couldn't get around good, you know, until the snowplow came and cleaned up the street a little bit. And of course, it didn't matter whether they liked it or not. The cop cars couldn't even budge. I mean, they couldn't go down the street at all. It varies from state to state, Mr. Intense. Some states it's legal to not wear them, and some states it's not. Some states you have to have a helmet, and some states you don't. It's kind of weird over here. They let the individual states decide some laws, and I'll tell you something that's even more weird over here is they'll let the individual counties within the state decide whether or not you can sell liquor in that county or what kind of liquor you can sell in that county. Because we call it either dry or wet. Because if it's dry, you can't sell anything. And any kind of liquor, no beer, no wine, no hard liquor. And then there's like semi-dry where you can sell beer and wine, but no hard liquor. And then there's some that are just wet, call them wet, and they sell anything. And it's really weird how they do that, but that's the way they do it. And that's how they did it in Texas. Now, I don't know about other states, but I know in Texas, the county itself could decide what kind of liquor you could sell inside that county or sell it at all. That brings me up to a pretty good little sidetrack there. Neil would understand, because I think Arkansas does the same thing. Because many, many years ago, I went through Arkansas with this lady. She was not my girlfriend or my wife. We were just acquaintances. And come 5 o'clock, she had to have a beer. That was just all there was to it. Well, come 5 o'clock, we were in the middle of Arkansas and for some reason we had got off the interstate and we were going back roads. And come 5 o'clock, she had to have a beer. She was an alcoholic. And so we, next little town we pull over, Dry County. So she decided it was too far, because we asked the clerk at the little store, how much further in either direction it was to where we could buy beer. Well, she decided it was too far to the next one, the way we were going, for her to wait. So we had to backtrack at least, 20, 30 miles to get back to the county we just come through so she could get her a 6-pack. I swear to God, no, true story. So in New Hampshire, y'all don't even have to wear seatbelts, really? We're supposed to, but they won't pull you over for it unless they're fishing out here in Arizona or in my town. And I don't even think the sheriff's department deputies even look. I don't even think they care. Well, that's neat. Well, that's a good thing. Well, I'm going to give y'all state credit for that, because I mean, I ain't got nothing against seatbelts. Just don't tell me what I have to do. That's the problem I have with it. So when you force me to do something, you know, that's when I have trouble with it. And helmets were the same way. I mean, depending on where I was going and what I was riding, what depended on whether I put on a helmet or not when I left the house. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. It all depended on where I was going and what I was doing and what I was riding, whether or not I put a helmet on. Foot's itching a little bit. You know, and like I say, I mean, to me, that's just something that should be left up to the rider or the driver. It shouldn't be a mandatory thing. Yeah, it all depends on the, you know, it all depends on the cop, and it depends on the circumstances. If I was a cop, even if the law says you had to have a helmet, guy comes by me on a motorcycle, if he's riding right, doesn't look suspicious, yeah, I'm gonna let him go. I'm not gonna stop him. Plus, out here, I think it mainly depends on the day and the temperature of that day, because you know, if it's 110 in the shade, and they're gonna have to stand in the sun for a little while, they pretty much gonna leave you alone unless you just really seriously breaking a law. From 18 to 19, all right, 19 to smoke. Oh. Only thing bad about y'all, Josh, ain't y'all? I mean, I've heard New Hampshire was that way, and I think Maine is a little bit that way. But aren't y'all just like surrounded by these blue states up there? Well, at least you're an island in the sea. So, I think they're what ain't your state motto, live free or die, or something like that? Or am I thinking about the wrong state? I don't even think Arizona has a motto. If it does, I don't know what the hell it is. It's one of the kind of neat things about Arizona. A lot of people, it's such a new state that uh, there aren't anybody besides American Indians that you could say are native Arizonans. Really, it's too new. You know, everybody has come here recently. You know, as far as the world stage goes. You know, so you're only going to get one or two generations, probably two at the max, deep, as far as people actually living in Arizona, unless you do count the American Indians, and they've been here a long time. So. Well, that's neat, Mr. Intense. I can say I talked to somebody from Wales. I couldn't point it out on the map, but I understand where it's at. That's pretty neat. I always think it's neat when you get to talk to somebody from way off. There's quite a few UK reviewers that I like, but there's some of them that I just can't understand them enough. And I know my accent has to throw a lot of people off, but there's some of those UKers that reviewers that I flat can't understand them half the time. Now sometimes I can, if they start speaking clearly, but there's some of them that just and that's what it sounds like to me, and I'm going, what? You know? And the accent don't really throw me off that bad because I'm a huge fan of British comedies. And it's not really the accent, but they just like go to mumbling and using the slang term is what throws me off more than anything. I don't have a clue what the hell they're talking about. Of course, I'm sure the same can be said for me. Yeah, I don't think Arizona's got a saying. They call us the Sunshine State, I think. I think that's the name. But yeah. Of course, we wasn't around during the Revolutionary War, and I think that's where most of those things come from, if I'm not mistaken. And hell, Arizona wasn't even a state back then. So, it was still just bare desert. Hell, I don't even know if they knew it was here. So, yeah, Frank, that's what Kentucky was. It was a commonwealth. And I didn't quite understand it till I lived up there a little while. And it's got some different rules than if you're a state. And I didn't care for them too much, really, because it seemed like that the states, the rules were tilted toward more for the government than for the people, even though it was supposedly a commonwealth. That's what they called it. Yeah, the differences I saw or discovered, I wasn't too impressed with because the ones I discovered all leaned toward the government side instead of leaning toward the common folk side. Yeah, keeping up appearances was a good one. Are You Being Served was one of my other good ones that I liked the most. And I liked Red Dwarf. I loved Red Dwarf. Of course, I'm a Doctor Who fan. Old Doctor Who. New one with the woman, could care less. Hadn't watched it. Watched a few. I'm sorry. They got woke. They wanted to get woke and they wanted to get political. I'm out. I want science fiction. Sorry, but I want science fiction. And I'm a Tom Baker Doctor Who fan. He was my favorite from the old Doctor Who's. But yeah. I've never seen the Vicar deal. Faulty Tires, that was a good one. I loved it. Yep, seen that one. I love Faulty Towers. Long time ago, it was if you lived out in the country here, well, in Texas, you were hard pressed to find a channel that had British comedies. We only had one, and it didn't come in too good. That's back in the antenna days. This is how long ago that was. You had to have a double throwdown antenna with a rotary and boosters and amplifiers and all that stuff. And then it was still snowy. The picture was snowy, but it beat the hell out of rabbit ears. But yeah, I watched all of them that were long in that area, long in the Are You Being Served era. I used to watch almost all of them. I loved them. Hadn't seen none of them. I think I got one channel on my satellite that it's BBC channel, I think, but very seldom watch it anymore. I never was a big fan of Benny Hill. I mean, I appreciated it, the humor and all, and I watched some of it, but I just wasn't a fan of it, that big a fan of Benny Hill. Now I love their little song. Oh man, it fits in so many places. That little jingle they got, I mean, that fits just almost any video you want to stick it on, and everybody knows what the hell it means. In fact, when I was a little bitty kid, the some of the first cooking shows I watched were British cooking shows. But now, did y'all ever watch Red Dwarf? I thought that was a really good little science fiction comedy, I guess you'd call it. Hmm. Well, that little rise is doing good. It's not pouring no juice out. Kind of like the way I did it now. Hmm. Now, I tell you, my favorite character was the cat on Red Dwarf. That was my favorite character. Hmm. Well, I didn't even know it was on anymore. Hell, probably the first 2 seasons is probably all that I ever even saw of it. I had no idea it was still on. I don't think it comes on any channel I get. Yeah, Red Dwarf was a good one. I liked it. Like I say, the main character I liked, my favorite character. I mean, I liked what was the other guy's name? Lister. Rimmer was all right, but I think the other guy's name was Lister. But the cat, I loved the cat was my favorite out of the characters. Well, the guy that was supposed to have evolved from cats, according to the show's deal. That was the one I liked the best. And believe it or not, I don't know how many more I would be. I'll fall out of this chair if anybody in the chat says they're an anime fan. But old bald-headed me, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool anime fan. I love anime, and I have since I was old enough to watch TV. And most people that I see on the street, they'll have a T-shirt or something, young kid, and they'll have an anime character on it, and I'll strike up a conversation with them and say, "Oh, you like so and so," and it just blows their mind that I even have a clue who the character on their T-shirt is, And I said, "Yeah, I was watching anime back before you was born," you know. Yeah, Speed Racer. Speed Racer was actually one of the very first animes that there was, as far as what's considered an anime. And I watched Speed Racer when it debuted, you know. Um, but yeah, there was I forget, there was a couple of more. The long Speed Racers, a little, maybe just a hair newer than Speed Racer. But yeah, that was some of the first ones that I classify as anime, not a cartoon, but anime. And a lot of people don't understand the difference, but there is a big difference. And I've never watched Stranger Things. I heard a lot of stuff about it. I never watched it. Ultraman, Space Giants. I don't remember one called Space Giants. There was a character called Space Ghost, but it wasn't an anime, it was a cartoon. But the Ultraman sounds like it was probably an anime, but I don't remember that name. But there was a deal, Space Ghost was a character, but not really an anime in my opinion. I may have to go back and binge watch that Stranger Things. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. Yep, that's a fact. Lewis, because back in them days, the animation was nothing like it is today. You had to appreciate it for what it was. Of course, if you was a little kid, you didn't know the difference. I'm not big on some of them. But there are some, Josh, that have a pretty neat storyline, and it's but now even there's some of them that if it's just I forget the name for them, they're mechs, the giant robot things, what the hell, Gundams and all. Now, see, I didn't care for Gundams or the Gundam series. I didn't. That wasn't what I got into. But right now I'm into Overlord, the one called Overlord. I really like it, and it's kind of neat because you can actually read the light novels that the anime is adapted from, and realize, I mean, they leave out a whole bunch. And the novels are actually, very, very more in depth and more risque, we'll say, than the anime. Of course, there's a lot of anime that's made for age groups, little kids, and then there's a lot of anime that's made for adults. They say they still hand draw a lot of the stuff. Lewis, they say they do. They got of course, they say, I think they sublet it out now to, I don't even think they do it in Japan anymore. I think some of them sublet it out to like Korea or somewhere and whatnot. And they do it cheaper, I guess. But yeah, a lot of it's CGI. And it's kind of bad when they mix the two because you can instantly tell what thing is CGI and what thing is hand drawn. And, it's really hard to blend the two together. But a lot of them went down that road. And there were some that were totally CGI. I just didn't like them. I just didn't care for the look of it. Yeah. All the Looney Tunes have been classified racist and everything else in the world now, though. Josh, you couldn't even show them on TV. People would be up in arms. Oh my God, it's a Looney Tunes cartoon. It's racist and it's too much violence in that. That damn Roadrunner's killing the coyote too many times. Oh. It's just amazing what they've come to. When Looney Tunes is not a good thing, it's just that's just not a world I want to live in. I tell you, it's just something else. I did like Beavis and Butthead back in the days. It was kind of funny because it was different. Uh, it was kind of funny. Hmm. Oh, is that the deal? Uh, well, over here when I was a kid, you had your Saturday morning cartoons, and then there was one channel that we could get that had cartoons from like 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on weekdays. It was for when you got out of school, you could watch them, and they were all real old uh, cartoons, but you didn't have a lot of choices in the matter, you know. In fact, me and my sister-in-law, that is about two, I don't know how many generations difference in our age, but at least two, I would say. She didn't let her kids, she has two, and she didn't let them watch the Cartoon Network. And we went over to their house for Thanksgiving one year and whatnot, and she said she wouldn't let them watch the Cartoon Network. And I said, really? Really? Oh, no, no, it's too much. It's too much. And I said, it's your kids. I mean, I disagree with you, but it's your kids. You raise them how you want. Hell, when I was a kid, we watched everything. We went to the movies and saw everything. It wasn't no big deal. Uh, the only thing that would be bad if we went to a real scary movie, a monster movie, I might have a nightmare, once or twice when I was a little bitty kid, but that was about the extent of the damage it done. All right, Mr. Intense, I think we're all about to get out of here. We've been on now for at least an hour and a half, and I think we've rambled enough for today. So I appreciate you stopping by. We're going to try to make this a try to do every Wednesday thing. We're going to try it and see if we can, unless something comes up and I can't make it. Yeah, I remember them old ones, the old original Batman with the little cartoon wham bam things pop up. Okay, guys, I think we're going to put an end to it here. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope you can come back next week. We can ramble a little further. Okay. So till next time, we'll see you later.